Hi, just a question. Have Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos fallen into the boring years of marriage? Well, Kelly was working on a soap opera. Now, she had really no talent, but they trained her because they liked her look. And they kept sending her to classes, and she was pretty comfortable in her job. And then they brought in this guy to be on the show. She said she fell for him immediately. That was Mark Consuelos. And later they married, and they were in their 20s. So they've been married now for, what, 20 years, about. So they have three kids. They have an older son who I believe is 26. They have their daughter who graduated from NYU. And then they have their youngest son who I believe is age 20. So they have no young kids, and they're basically two people with tons of money living in New York City and doing a show together. Now, Kelly has been through a lot of co hosts. She started out replacing a very popular co host, and she finally took over the show. Regis Philbin was the guy she was working with. Then Regis left, and he thought he was put out to pasture too soon. He was angry a bit. But Kelly took off, and she's been there for about 20 years. And when her last co host left to take over Wheel of Fortune as host, she brought in her husband, Mark Consuelos, to be her co host. Now, this usually fails because you get to see each other all day and you get to complain all day about various things. Now, Mark Consuelos had been in a number of jobs, and his last job was about the comic book character, but Archie, Veronica, Betty, and it was called, I can't remember the name of the show. But anyway, that was canceled. So when that was canceled, then he moved in and took over this co-hosting job with his wife. Now she says she was at the airport for about 2 hours, and she picked up a magazine, and it had an article about gray divorce. So she was bringing this up on the show about the pluses and minuses of gray divorce, which is when people get divorced and they're over age 50. They are now ages 54 and 53. Empty nesters. So Mark Consuelos was saying, well, why were you reading that article? Well, these two have had this conversation many times because they are both, young, attractive, very wealthy. And Mark Consuelos has said in the past, that if his life weren't so good, he's married to Kelly. She's making over 20 million a year. And of course, his career has been good and boosted by his wife. And then they have three adorable children. Well, he said he probably would have been married many times, but he has stuck it out with Kelly all these years. So now they're really, I think, really looking more seriously into their life. But is this stimulated? Is this being accelerated or exploded by the news media and all of this stuff that's in the news about the freak-offs, the sex parties, the Kanye West jobs where he's hiring people who are only fan models and they're having sex in the offices and everything? Is this all being increased over maybe some jealousy, maybe some envy, and they're thinking, well, maybe there are opportunities out there for us. Maybe we're not at the end of our lives. They're in their 50s, as I said, and maybe they're just thinking, well, there's other things out there that are available for people after their kids have grown. So, are they going to be able to stick it out? It's a long time to go. If they live to their 70s, that's another, 20 years together. We'll have to wait and see how it goes. But people do get interested in these sex stories that are exploding on the internet about all of these rappers, these people in music, these agents, and so forth, who are involved in all of these lives of wild sex, uninhibited lives, heavy drugging, heavy drinking, and doing things internationally. Now, Kanye West's assistant said she was paid $1 million for being his assistant, and she claims she has a 15-year history in the music industry. And she said she was promised a $3 million raise, bringing her salary up to $4 million, but she said she never received it. But her story is one of, getting huge breast enhancements. Now, Kelly has always said, she had small breasts. She didn't mind her small breasts. She was not thinking about getting any physical enhancements, plastic surgery, and so forth. So, is Mark happy with that? Is Mark happy with his wife as she is? Or is he looking for some sex model that is publicizing herself on the internet? He always seemed to be probably having affairs on his past jobs. I mean, he was doing a whole lot as far as building up his muscles, and he had to spend overnights at the movie sets or the TV sets when he was working at his past job. So there was always the huge suspicion that Mark was having relations with other people on the sets, but that was never really put out into the media. But maybe in the future all of this stuff will come out as what really was going on with Mark Consuelos for the past years. So it'll be interesting. We wish them the best, whatever path they choose, and we will just be listening and waiting to see how they choose to spend the rest of their lives. Things usually go better socially for men. Men 50 to 70s can date a lot of women. As they get older, those women tend to be nurses, but there are some very attractive nurses. Older women tend not to find a really stable partner, so we'll have to see how it goes. What do you think? Should they stay married? Or, like me, are you just wishing them the best? Take care, like and subscribe. Bye.